this, there's breaking news. The president has just pardoned Paul Manafort. Paul Manafort is a name that's been in the headlines for a long time. He is one of the compadres of Roger Stone. He served as Trump's former campaign manager, and the president has just pardoned him as well. I hate to interrupt you, but this just came across the NBC News desk. So what do you make of this latest pardon?
Well, this is just one of his many pardons from the very start, all abusive, because what he's doing is either benefiting cronies or trying to excite his base. What I should point out about this pardon, though, is that it is not a pardon that wipes out Manafort's conviction. It's a pardon that's after conviction, so his conviction stands, but now his rights will be restored. And if he has any more prison time to do, then that, I take it, is being commuted by this pardon.
So also, with more breaking news, also in the name of the president's latest pardons is Roger Stone, who is a longtime partner of Paul Manafort, and Charlie Kushner. Why might that name sound familiar? He is, of course, the father to Jared Kushner, the president's son-in-law. You will remember that Charlie Kushner was sentenced to jail under the reign of former New Jersey Governor Chris Christie, which was rumored to cause some discord between Jared Kushner and Chris Christie on the campaign trail. And now Charlie Kushner has been pardoned along with Roger Stone. This news is just hitting the NBC desk, so we're bringing it to you first. And it just happened to be during this segment on pardons, which is crazy. Paul Butler, I want to bring you in this conversation because this is just a wild abuse of presidential pardon power. What do you think the president, his intentions are of pardoning these really shady characters by all accounts? I mean, for anybody even remotely familiar with Roger Stone and Paul Manafort, you remember you and I have shared the screen before talking about Paul Manafort and his infamous ostrich coat, and like the money that he spent behind these shady dealings. What do you think the president's trying to accomplish with these pardons?
We know what his intent is by looking at the people who he has given pardons to. And they're his political friends, or war criminals, or rich white guys, or people like Paul Manafort who were convicted in the Mueller investigation and who didn't rat Trump out. Almost none of these scoundrels will qualify under the normal process that Larry described because they haven't accepted responsibility or shown remorse. People like Paul Manafort and the Blackwater security murderers don't think that they did anything wrong. As of today, Trump has pardoned about 65 people. Actually, that's as of an hour ago. Again, it's going to go up and up, but it's not going to be people who were sentenced under draconian drug laws and who've turned their lives around, who deserve mercy. It's more likely to be, as we see, family members like Don Jr., Jared and Ivanka, rich white dudes, and people like Paul Manafort who went to prison rather than expose Trump's criminality.
Hey there, I'm Chris Hayes from MSNBC. Thanks for watching MSNBC on YouTube. If you want to keep up to date with the videos we're putting out, you can click subscribe just below me or click over on this list to see lots of other great videos.